This meeting is now being recorded. Thank everyone for being here tonight. We are going to get started very shortly, Brian, in about 3 minutes, all right?
You take your time, Jeysaun.
Just want to give anyone else a chance to get in here. All right, so it is 6:05, so we can get started. And if you want to just take a second and start bringing up the presentation. And Brian, are you going to do an intro before you get started with presentation?
Yes.
All right.
But
so
you usually do your intro first, right?
Yep.
Okay. I'll stand by for you, and then we'll get started.
There we go. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. This is the statutorily required community meeting for EnRoot LLC, operating out of 415 to 417 Blue Hill Ave, seeking license type to co-locate a marijuana courier and delivery operator license. So Brian will be speaking through the presentation today. Once Brian is finished going through the entire presentation, we will open it up to questions and answers, where if you have any questions around the proposal, you can ask Brian, and any questions around the city process, you can direct towards myself. If you can keep your hand raised when you are ready to ask a question, and after your question has been answered, if you can take your hand down, that would be greatly appreciated. So with that, I'm going to mute myself. Brian, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Jeysaun. Good evening. My name is Brian Keith, principal at Rooted in Roxbury. I'm joined tonight by members of our team. Tonight, we will be discussing our proposal for a home delivery cannabis business at 415 Blue Hill Ave. Root in Roxbury is working in collaboration with James Finney, owner of EnRoot LLC, the entity which will occupy this space. Allow me to introduce James.
Good evening. My name is James Finney. I am the co-founder and co-owner of EnRoot, and I'm glad to be here tonight to share with you our proposal for a delivery operation in Grove Hall. I have been searching a long time to have this opportunity, and it's finally presented itself. Tonight, we are going to be sharing with you background on our company and our experience, and our proposal for a home delivery cannabis business at 415 Blueville Ave. This is our official community meeting being hosted by the mayor's office, but we have had the benefit of speaking with many of you leading up to this meeting. This is certainly not the end of our community engagement process, but really the beginning, and we look forward to continued work with this community. As one of only 11 state designated economic empowerment applicants in Boston, I wanted to start tonight by sharing a little bit more about who I am and what our future business will stand for. I joined tonight with my partners in this effort, Rooted in Roxbury founder Joanne and her husband Brian, Wakita and her husband Solomon. Some of you may know me. I grew up in these streets. I was the boy that could not speak until he was 6 years old. From the home in the Franklin Field development to my mother's hair salon, Spectrum Hair Performance on Columbia Road. My cousins and my uncles on 64 Brunswick Street, 3rd floor. And maybe even from the time performing at the Maurice Starr talent show nights throughout my early years. I worked at the Burger King on Washington Street as a manager, giving opportunity to our local youth. I then became a kitchen worker and became a food service director from 1986 to 2006 at the Hebrew Rehab Center. During that time, I helped countless individuals living in the urban areas with jobs and placement opportunities, helping many start their careers in real estate, law enforcement, construction, hair salon stylists, professional dancers. When my performing days and work at the rehab center ended, I took over my mother's hair salon on Columbia Road. I ran it well until the landlord decided to raise the rent to an amount that we could not afford and basically move us out of business. Now I'm caring for individuals who are aging or need a personal assistance in their home through Tempest Unlimited PCA agency. It has given me a unique perspective on an opportunity of cannabis for aging people and how our delivery business could give more people access to cannabis who otherwise cannot get to the retail stores. This past spring, I was introduced to Rooted in Roxbury. I learned about their community conscious cannabis model and joined them to realize my first cannabis business, something I have been striving to do on my own since I received state designated in 2018. Our investors are our neighbors. When this location does well, our neighbors succeed financially. With as small a donation as $1,250 and as large as $62,000, we have given people of color from our community a seat at the table in a billion-dollar industry. When billion-dollar opportunities come around, people of color are not included until there is a quota when there is a quota to fill. We are doing it on the ground level, on the ground floor. As a partner rooted in Roxbury, we currently have 43. You can see on the map where our investors call home. 100% of investors live within the city of Boston. Our investors are all of our neighbors, and we would welcome new investors from Grove Hall neighborhood to share in the success of this location. With that, I will get into our proposal for 415 Blue Hill Ave. We are proposing to operate approximately 4,500 square feet of warehouse and administrative office space at this location. Our site will allow full self-contained operation by utilizing the parking next door. While we have an area for parking, there is no customers allowed at this facility. We will utilize the lot for delivery-only operations. The location meets all state and local regulations, and we feel we will complement the existing cannabis establishment across the street, allowing more local options for consumers to get cannabis without having to get to the retail store itself. The next slide is a look at our proposed floor plan and operations. As you can see, on the right side is our second floor dispatch and administrative office, and on the main floor, our security and vault system. Drivers will pick up product on the left side of the building and bring them out to the lot next to our site. We have proposed operating 7 days a week, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., allowing for the limited delivery operations during peak commuter times. Jobs. Our intention is to bring economic value to our community, so our employees will be recruited from our neighborhood with a preference for those who live nearby. Our intentional staffing will employ 39 people across warehouse and delivery functions. We will operate a fleet of 3 small vehicles that will be stored on site. Here you can see more clearly our layout to accommodate the highest level of security and employee safety. We thought it was important to show you the type of vehicles we will be operating. There will be 3 of these vehicles used to deliver product, with each outfitted with the highest standard of security, including a mobile vault system, GPS, and a 2-person crew. The vehicle is never left alone with product inside. We know that traffic is a concern of residents. Again, we will be a fully self-contained site. As a transportation business, we will be looking closely at how best to optimize our delivery schedule around peak commuter times. There will be no delivery vehicles allowed to be parked along Blue Ave, and we will be deploying Uber-like technology to track all vehicles, ensuring all vans self-entry into and out of our facilities. Our business model also includes a courier method of delivering where those vehicles will never pick up from our warehouse, but rather other retail dispensaries directly and then on to those dispensary customers. Mike Ware, Ware Security, will be the day-to-day security operator for this site. Ware Security is a family-owned, person of color owned, fully credited special police force and constable. Mike and his company currently handle major contracts such as the Dimmick Hospital, Washington Park Mall, Fruities, and other sites, as well as handle the personal security for Congresswoman Ayanna Presley when she is here in the district. As this is the warehouse model, our security protocol will be focused on ensuring only employees has access to this site, and that we could run efficient operation with minimum impact to the surrounding neighborhoods. With continued dialogue with the surrounding neighbors, neighborhood association, and Boston Police, we will add state-of-the-art security cameras to ensure the security of the site. All cameras will be shared live and in real time with Boston Police. In addition to significantly improving light, scheduling our delivery times at off-peak hours, surveillance, and bringing a physical presence, that activity, this prominent corner, there are a number of other policies that we will be putting in place to ensure we and our employees are always good neighbors. Our employees will be required to sign a good neighbor pledge. This pledge will see our employees agreeing to safe driving, no loitering outside no loitering outside of our building or in the neighborhood, no smoking outside of our building or in the neighborhood, no illegal parking. We want to work with our community to add any other agreement the community believes should also be part of this pledge. As mentioned previously, we anticipate hiring 39 employees for this site. 9 employees will be on site during business hours, and 6 delivery drivers will be in the field. Our employees will be paid competitive wages. We have access to quality health care and dental. We have access to down payment assistance for first-time home buyers, and we will be able to take part. We will be able to take part in profit sharing based on the success of our location. We will make the best effort to hire from the Grove Hall community, with preference of those who are people of color and those who have a past history with the failed war on drugs. We hope to earn your trust over time. We understand that bringing this business to the neighborhood comes with a lot of responsibility, and we have had a plan for giving back. First, we are committed $1,000 worth, $100,000 to a worthy cause within the area. This $100,000 is currently not earmarked with a specific project, and we hope to work with the community members to determine where it goes. In addition, we will create a community advisory board made up of residents and business owners from the community to distribute funds separately from the $100,000 to local causes in the area. 3% of revenue will be automatically placed to the city direct fund. As a business owner, we will share your goals of creating a clean, safe, and vibrant environment where everyone and sees business activities, enhance property value, and further investment in the area. EnRoot will be an asset to Grove Hall. Here we have a list. Here we have lists some of the groups we have and we continue to meet with. As we move through this process, we hope to add more groups to this list. In closing, as you can see, we anticipate $400,000 in tax revenue generated from this site, the creation of 39 new local jobs with a preference to people of color, and the knowledge that the ownership and leadership of this company is 100% from this community. Understand the concern and the willing and open to the constructiveness, finding common ground with community members. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to your questions.
Thank you, James. Is that all for the presentation?
That is all.
All right, perfect. So just for everyone here, I am going to transition everyone to a panelist. So while you ask your question, you can be seen on camera if you choose to be so. But I just wanted to let everyone know that currently, and you also be able to see, well, everyone else who was on the meeting. Once again, I do encourage, if you have a question, to raise your hand, and once your question is answered, please put your hand down. If you have another question, feel free to raise your hand again, but I want to just be fair so that everyone who has a question has a chance to ask it. If you are not asking a question, I please ask that you mute yourself just so we don't get any background static. And all right, anyone with a question, please raise your hand. Or come off mute, one of the two, whoever wants to be our first question.
I guess we just call it. Oh, there it is.
Yes, we can.
My question is, he did mention that he was going to have the state of the arts security with the employees that's on site that's there. I just need to know, will they have to have any kind of weapons to secure themselves or the building itself, along with the product that they will be warehousing?
So that's a good question. So the rules around cannabis in the state of Massachusetts is that all facilities and all people who work in those facilities or registered agents to those facilities are not allowed to carry any, I guess you would call them offensive weapons. So no guns or knives or things like that. So no, we're not allowed to carry any type of weapon of that nature. So like a police officer is allowed to carry a weapon. Cannabis security, even if they are accredited to hold firearms, are not allowed to bring firearms into a cannabis facility.
My last question is, when do you foresee the building to be up and running and operating?
I think the way this process typically works is that a conservative amount of time is 18 months. We have a location that we've been working on since December 2020. And, you know, we anticipate that probably won't be open until 18 months from that date. So I would assume that this would probably follow that same timeline. So this is our first meeting. Well, not our first meeting, but this is our first public meeting. I would anticipate 18 months from maybe 2 months ago.
All right, thank you.
And I'm Brian Keith, everyone. Sorry, I don't know if everyone heard me or heard that I was introduced.
Hand raised or not. I had a question.
Talking on mute. Jason, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I wanted to applaud James Finney and Brian Keith. You guys and Jeysaun, Grant, you guys sound like you have an amazing plan for the Dorchester Roxbury area. First off, and you're going to some incredible research to be done, and I see good things in your future. I was along with her asking about. I've been reading about some of the other 11 licensed. We're looking to start in the next couple of months. Is there any way that your timetable could be pushed up so that way the neighborhood, this neighborhood that you put so much effort and time and investment into, that you could get your investment going any faster? Is there any way to see that projection come within a more timetable of 18 months?
So that's the goal. 18 months is conservative, but we want to be as responsible as possible as we move forward, continuing to consult with the community to make sure that we're addressing any concerns that may have as we move forward. But also, if you know the area and you know the building itself, the building is in very, very, very rough shape.
Right.
We are going to maintain the building as it is. We're going to improve the building, the exterior, so that you know, it's a very prominent corner at the corner of Devon and Blue Hill Ave. So we want to make sure that, you know, passersby, one, they don't know that it's a cannabis business, but that they do see a building that is very much improved from its current state. Right now,
Right.
after that rain, there's a huge pool of rain that's kind of pooled up on the ceiling or on the roof of the main roof of the building. The building is in tough shape. That's currently leaking into the actual building itself. So we have a lot of work to do to bring that building up to code. But then we also have a lot to do as far as the cannabis process with the city and the cannabis process with the state. So 18 months for us is conservative. We would hope to do it quicker, but you know, we like to use that number just to set expectations.
I'm by trade a contractor, and I've seen your location, and it's got an amazing potential.
Absolutely.
And the build out, like you said, you're having a roof problem, this and that. You know, a couple good contractors could get you guys done pretty quickly. But
Yeah.
it is a great location. It's a 1 in a million location. I've seen it. I've seen the garage bays, and it's tailor suited for this type of business. So. Okay.
And thank you for bringing that up. For those of you who know the location, it does have 3 garage bays on the side. That street, Devon Street, is a residential street. We don't want to use those garage bays for vehicle entry and exit. That would have us creating curb cuts where curb cuts don't currently exist. We don't want to take parking away from any of the neighbors who currently live on
One of those bays.
Devon Street. So we're actually going to be bricking up that side of the street or creating a more secure door than what's currently there as just regular garage doors. Everything that we do, enter, exit, will be done on the main drag of Blue Hill Ave. So thank you for bringing that up.
Good
Thank you for your
idea.
question.
Thank you.
I'd like
I
to
have a
say
question.
something.
Um,
I have a question. Oh, okay,
right.
go on, Miss Amina.
yes. So the gentleman just spoke. He's praising your, it looks like it's a good site. It's a really good site. One, does he live in this area? And two, most
Yes.
locations when you're doing construction, I'm not referring to the other gentleman, Brian. I'm talking about the gentleman before, saying getting good contractors in there. So one, does he live in the neighborhood? And two, usually when there's a development going on, usually you'll get a picture or like future site or whatever. Was that posted? Because you also spoke about community engagement. Who did you engage in to say, is this something for the community? Who did you speak to? Clergy, surrounding business people, the elderly who live in the area, who have been homeowners for many, many years. So, oftentimes this is what happened in our community. They just throw things up and there's like, sound like you have already been doing this for quite some time. So my question is, who were you engaging with? You're saying time and investment, that's a concern for me. And that's what that always happens. So I'm just concerned about that. Thank you.
Sure. We showed up to a meeting of that Project Right held. We weren't necessarily invited to the meeting, but they were talking about us and we were there. So we had a conversation with the members that were there at the time. We spoke with Sister Virginia yesterday, and we spoke with a member of Mosque 11. We've spoken with the Imam from the mosque on Intervale Street, and we had a brief conversation with Reverend Groover. That being said, Reverend Groover, who lives in the area and also is the Reverend from Charles Street AME. That being said, we want to have more conversations, and we're willing and open and very able to make ourselves available to have conversations, whether it's one-on-one or one-on-many with members of the community. We're happy to. What we want to impress upon you here tonight is that what we've showed you tonight and what James discussed is our plan. That's our plan. We want to work with the community to make a plan that is reflective of what the community is comfortable with. We can only start where we start, but we want your input. We want to hear your input tonight and moving forward so that we can put forth a plan that is reflective of what your needs are, what you wish to see, as well as what we wish to see. We don't want to force anything down anyone's throat. But at the same time, we do want to open our business, and we want to be sensitive and understanding of what your needs are so that we can kind of live in harmony as a business as well as neighbors. But thank you. And my information, it was on that slide, but I'm happy to share our information at the end of this presentation so that if anyone wants to reach out to us directly, they can reach us and we can set up meetings, whether it's, again, one-on-one or in a group setting. Happy to do it.
Now, you said you talked to the clergy that is in the area. There's a church right directly across the street from where you're building your warehouse. Have you even went across the street to speak to the Swillies?
I was not able to reach them. I'm not sure. No, I was not able to reach them. We did flyer them because they were, statutorily required that we do reach out to them. We did send them certified letters, and we did knock on the door, but we were not able to reach them in order to have a direct one-on-one conversation with them.
Information for the meeting, and I was hoping that they would join us here tonight because they're directly across the street from where you're building your cannabis warehouse. And
Absolutely.
I wanted them to speak out about you planting that there, considering they already have a cannabis shop right next door to the church. And here you come right across the street from the church. So y'all are bombarding this one church.
Well, I mean, so we are going to be a cannabis business, but at the end of the day, we're just going to be a business with employees. So I think a lot of times the concern when it comes to cannabis shops is that it'll bring traffic and it'll bring people who are lining up outside and making a scene and things like that. Personally, I'll speak personally for myself. When I drive by different cannabis shops, including Pure Oasis and others, generally speaking, I don't see a line. but I know that that is a concern that people do have. We won't have lines because, like I said, we won't have customers. Our customers will be at their doors. This building will be for employees only. And just to go greater into our employees, we want to hire at minimum 39 people from this neighborhood, 39 people who are Black and brown, giving 39 people from our community jobs that are high paying, with profit sharing, with benefits, with down payment assistance, so they can buy homes in this city and stay in this very expensive city. So, I mean, no business is perfect and ideal for everyone, and especially cannabis, and we understand that and we respect that. But I just want us to know that we as a business are trying, and we are willing to work with everyone, listen to concerns, and then amend our plans to be reflective of the concerns that you may have.
I have a question. Katrina Shaw from Freedom House.
Hi, Katrina.
I don't know who's saying hi to me, but my question is, it sounds like this week was the first week, and actually I think Sister Virginia may have called me a week or so ago around what your plans are. It sounds like you have determined that that's where you're going to go. And it sounds like the input that you're willing to accept from the community is not whether or not you should be there, but how you should be there at this point. So I don't want to waste my time or anybody else's time. But that's what I hear, like that's what it feels like I'm hearing. And
I'll say that that's a fair assessment. I would agree with you.
All right. And so I think that the problem for us is, notwithstanding all the things that you're trying to do to balance out the fact that you're bringing yet another cannabis shop into our community, the fact is you are bringing yet another cannabis shop into our community. And as an educational organization, and an organization that probably has some deep-rooted philosophical differences in how young people are accessing that, I think that I am only speaking to go on record to say that we're not in support of that. I think that we've done our fair share with Pure Oasis. And it's nothing against anybody Black. We're definitely for Black people and brown people trying to develop economically. But my thought is, must it all happen in the concentration of our neighborhood? I'm done.
Also,
No, I agree.
I would like to say,
I answer the question. May I answer? Well, I just want to respond to Ms. Shaw. I agree with you. I don't think that cannabis business, just like liquor stores or barbershops or any business, should be concentrated in one area, because, as someone who is, who a little bit understands business, you don't want to have a concentration of businesses, because that degrades your ability to be profitable. But we are a different concept than Pure Oasis. We're a different concept than any cannabis business that's currently in the city of Boston, because there aren't any delivery operators that are approved in the city yet. We won't have customers. We will simply be a building. So young people won't have access to our site. Adults won't have access to our site unless they are, employed there. So we will simply be a building that is distributing a legal process, not concentrating that distribution in Grove Hall, but distributing across the city of Boston. The way we like to look at it is, we'll actually be an asset, because we'll be not taking away business from Pure Oasis, but we'll actually be helping Pure Oasis and other cannabis businesses facilitate their transactions at a customer's door versus at their sites. So instead of having the lines, again, which I don't believe exist, but instead of having the lines that people say form outside of cannabis businesses, we'll be taking those lines away from the front of those businesses and putting them at the customer's door, as opposed to in front of the business. So if a young person is walking by, they don't see the line outside of the business, because that line will be significantly reduced, because more of that line is more of that transaction is taking place online and then delivered directly to the customer at their door, versus on the retail site. So if anything, our building will be a building. We'll have employees and we'll have drivers. And then our building will facilitate the transactions at other cannabis businesses, therefore reducing the crowd and the traffic that comes to the cannabis business's door. And, you know, as far as young people, I don't want to be the boogeyman who kind of breaks this, but young people, before Pure Oasis opened and before any cannabis business opened, they were exposed to cannabis. They were exposed to illegal cannabis. What we're doing is we're bringing a legal product that we do not sell to young people. Selling to young people is the easiest way for us to lose our license. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of money in order to build this business and open it up and get our license approved. To then sell to a young person, which is the easiest way to lose our license, that's not something that we plan on doing ever. What we want to do is be an example for young people as to how a person of color who was born and raised in Dorchester, who now owns a home in Roxbury, can start a business from the ground up in our community using a product that has harmed our community for so many years. Now we're taking that same product and we're building a business, not just for us 5 owners, James, my wife, Salman, and Rokia, but we're including other investors, which you, Katrina, could be one of them. We're including other investors from this community, from communities of color, who can also then profit from the success of this business and from the success of this substance that has been so harmful, you know, to our community.
Thank you, Brian.
What are
Cynthia
the-
Moore, your question is next.
Thank you. What are the security measures when someone calls in and wants a delivery? What are the security measures when you get to that site?
Yep. So what we'll be doing is, and thank you for that's a really good question. So what we'll be doing is when a person orders directly from us, they'll be uploading their driver's license to our secured portal. So they'll be checked. So we'll be checking their license immediately once they place their order. So we know we have that person's license. We can check it. We can see their age. We can see that they're, you know, from here, et cetera, et cetera. Then when the driver is at their door delivering the product, the driver would then check their license again. So we're doing a double check first, and first we have that license on file, but then we're checking the license again at the door. So we're doing a double check to ensure that who placed the order is also the individual who is receiving the order. If the individual who placed the order is not the individual who's receiving the order, we will not deliver that order. We will take it back and bring it back to the warehouse.
Okay, now for years and years, those of us in the area have been fighting and working hard to get viable businesses back on Blue Hill Avenue. And it's just amazing to me that now it seems that viable businesses are the cannabis businesses, which are not, to me, family-friendly businesses. I'm not a cannabis user. My family isn't. I mean, why not bring something in that families can enjoy? And I know where this is a distribution business, this is how it's getting over not being a dispensary a block away. And you know, it's just not fair. And you can talk to all the preachers you want. You can talk to all the business owners you want. You need to talk to the residents who are impacted by this. And why did you choose this particular location? There are many locations all over the city. Why here? We have enough here as it is.
Exactly.
We're tired.
I would a couple things. I would disagree. I would disagree that we have enough here in Grove Hall. I think that we actually need more. Not more cannabis, but I think we need more options. I'm 38 years old, and we have to recognize that there's people who are my age, there are people who are younger than me, there are people who are older than me who want to do more than just, you know, walk through and go to a flower shop or do something like that. They want other options. You know, we're a city where young people, where we have to attract young people, where we have to attract different populations and people who have different perspectives. So like I said, we have in Grove Hall retail or recreational dispensary that serves customers. And our hope is that we will now have a business that serves customers at their door. We will be a business, we will just be a building, and we'll serve customers at their door. But like I said, I would disagree that we have enough. I think that we need a variety of things. If I may finish, we need a variety of things in a neighborhood to create a vibrant neighborhood. If you go to a neighborhood like, if you go to a business district like Center Street in Jamaica Plain, like Clary Square in Hyde Park, like Ashmont Square, Peabody Square near Ashmont Station. If you go to those neighborhoods like Rosendale Center, those are vibrant downtown business districts. We should be striving to do better than those business districts. And those business districts are welcoming cannabis businesses in, not because they see them as negative to the community, but they see the positive impacts that can come in those downtown business areas, especially for business owners who are responsible business owners.
But
Right.
they have other
There's
viable.
availability in those areas. Why didn't you choose one of those areas if they're
Yeah.
welcome? There's a lot of availability in Rosendale.
So let me answer that question, Ms. Shaw. So we have chosen areas in the community which we live in, which we were born and raised, such as Grove Hall and such as Nubian Square. We've also chosen We've also chosen communities such as Newberry Street, because we don't think that as Black business owners that we should be relegated to the outer boroughs of the city of Boston. We want to be in the high traffic, high volume, high revenue areas such as Newberry Street. Our second location for our retail is on West Street in downtown Crossing. And I'm a very honest, transparent guy. Newberry Street, Boylston Street, Commonwealth Ave doesn't get more wider than that, doesn't get more richer than that. Downtown Crossing, West Street, there are millionaires who live on those streets where we're trying to put our cannabis business. So we're not just trying to force our businesses in our communities where we live. I live right off of Blue Hill Ave myself. We're trying to put them in all neighborhoods so that, one, we can show that Black businesses can be successful, and we can put our investors, who could be you on this call, we can put our investors in a place where they're now in the cannabis industry, which just surpassed $1 billion last month in the state of Massachusetts. How many Black companies, or Black and brown owned companies, do you think have a piece of that $1 billion right now? Do we want our community to have a piece of that $1 billion? Or do we want the business, do we want that $1 billion plus industry to continue to go to other white companies who are likely not from Boston, not even from Massachusetts? We have to make right decisions about what we want to see in our community. And I understand not everyone wants to see cannabis, but cannabis is coming. We have to understand that it's either going to come in the shape of people who are not from our community, or it can come from people who live here and who look like us.
All right, I have my hand up. Can I speak now?
Minister
Please,
Randy, yes,
please,
you can.
absolutely.
So I'm Minister Randy Muhammad of Muhammad Mosque number 11. I have a question and then a follow-up. The first question is, for your business that you're proposing on Blue Hill Avenue, does it require
Minister Randy, I apologize, you're breaking up.
Yes,
Can you
you're
ask
breaking up.
your question again?
Yes. So for the business that you're proposing on Blue Hill Avenue, does it require community support in order for you to open a business?
No, I think just like with any proposal, community support is nice. It's a good to have. It's not necessarily necessary. So would we like community support? Of course. I mean, at the end of the day, we think we're bringing a positive to the community. So do we want the community to support us? Absolutely. Do we necessarily need community support? No. I mean, I think that we all know. I live in Roxbury, just like many of you live in Dorchester and Roxbury. We know that buildings get built with no community support. We know that things come to the community with no community support. So the reality is, do we need community support? No. Would we love your support? Would we love to amend our project so it's more reflective of what you would want to see from a business like ours? Yes. And we would love your support. Sorry about that.
I spoke to several.
You have a follow-up question?
You including Sister Virginia and you said someone from mom, which was myself. But I think that you failed to mention. I mean, the way you said that was as if though you had the support of, and in that conversation, we voiced our objection, strong objection to this being open. So I would hope that in future conversations, that if you mention that you spoke to this reverend and this minister, you need to give the context of that, because it seems as if though you was alluding to that you have gotten, and we then in opposition to it. And as I mentioned,
you're breaking up. I will say that if you drew that I was trying to say that you were supporting our business from what I said, that we had a conversation with you, that's not what I said. And that's not what I said. That I didn't mean to say that Project Right supported us, nor did I mean to imply that Reverend Groover supported us, nor did I mean to imply that Sister Virginia or Moss number 11 supported us. I just simply made a statement that we had conversations. But I don't believe that saying that you had a conversation construes support.
that's important to say that when the question was, who did you speak to and do you have support in the community?
That was
And
the question. To be clear, that was not the question.
the question was, who did you speak to about this in the community?
Correct. Full stop. Correct. That was the question. And that is who we spoke to.
All right. Well, the follow-up to that question is what was the response to that conversation?
Yeah, no, and that's your follow-up, and I can answer that question. But I mean, you've already said it. You expressed that you were not in favor, and you expressed many reasons why you were not in favor, which I completely respect. Sister Virginia also expressed that she was not in favor. I don't want to speak to Mike. I know that Mike Kozu, generally speaking, is not in favor of cannabis, but I don't want to speak for how he feels about this business. I would assume it's the same, but I don't want to speak to that. And my conversation with Reverend Groover was more of a private conversation, but in that conversation, he did not give a feeling whether he was for it or against it. And my conversation with the imam from Intervale Street was similar. He did not give a position as to whether he was for or against this particular project. He did express that he was not for cannabis. Religiously, that's not something that he believes in, but he did not express disfavor or pleasure from this project.
Just for the record, I'll say lastly, and I'll be quiet. My opposition, knowing that the address of the business that you're planning was the former business of Minister Don Muhammad, who has been instrumental in the city in working to transform, particularly the Grove Hall area, from an open-air drug market. We fought to rid that area of drug dealing and drug selling, and really cleaned it up to the point where we can have economic development such as Grove Hall's Mecca, and attracting banks to come into the Grove Hall area. Our work in that community has been to rid it of drugs, to clean it up, and to make it a viable business place. And this is why we feel that it is add an insult to injury to use the business of Minister Don Muhammad as a place that will be now distributing marijuana. And so I just want to say that for the record, how strongly we oppose that, not only on the basis of having another cannabis business in Grove Hall, but specifically in the business that it was one of the longest standing Black-owned businesses, Novasheen of Minister Don Muhammad, one of the pillars of this community. And I would hope that y'all would again reconsider maybe finding another location for your business.
And I'll say, you've mentioned that to us when we spoke yesterday, and I'll repeat for everyone to hear what we discussed when you said it. Our 3 of the 5 partners that are owners of this business are Black. 2 of the 5 partners that are going into this business are Muslim. So the tradition of Black Muslim excellence will continue at this site. The ownership of this business continues to be Black, and it continues to be Muslim. I think we're in a good place to continue that legacy. We purchased the business from the gentleman we purchased the building from the gentleman that you mentioned, and now we're continuing the legacy in this building.
Brian, lastly, that what you just said only adds insult to injury. You know, that a Muslim and a black business will be in, you know, again, distributing drugs, marijuana, and know it's legal. And that's the thing. A lot of us people are overcome by the fact that marijuana is legal, but slavery was legal. Just because it's legal doesn't make it right, you know. And so Jim Crow was legal. That doesn't make it right. We know the harmful effect that marijuana is having
Slavery.
on people, not just young, but old as well. Our people are now addicted to this cannabis. It is not like it was 20, 30 years ago where people use cannabis as a recreational. People are addicted to marijuana. They smoking it first thing in the morning for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and throughout the day. They're chain smoking marijuana, like people with chain smoking and continue to chain smoke cigarettes. So this is something that is causing major harm to our people, our community, contributing to mental health problems that we're having. And so it's not a good thing to be brought into our community. So the fact that it is a black and then a Muslim that's bringing this only adds insult to injury.
No, I would agree with you. Slavery was legal and then it became illegal. What I'll say about cannabis is that I'm going to take a guess. For everyone on this call, cannabis was legal for since we were born up until just a few years ago in the state of Massachusetts. So cannabis was illegal for longer than it has been legal. So it was illegal, just like slavery is today. Now cannabis is legal. So we have a long history and a long chain and a long cycle and a long thought processes that we have to break. We have to break the stigma of this being a chain smoker's problem or a chain smoker's drug or something like that. It's not all about, cannabis is not all about smoking. Cannabis is also about, they're also edibles. It doesn't have to be a smoking product, but there's also the medical benefits that come from cannabis that I'm not going to get into because I'm not going to bore you all with that. With regards to medical cannabis, which is not what we're selling. We're not selling, we're doing recreational. The difference between recreational and medical that doctors prescribe is medical actually has a higher potency than what we will be selling. So please understand that there are medical benefits to cannabis. We are not selling medical, we are recreational, but we shouldn't just, again, we should work to educate ourselves and work to change our mindset, but I'm not here to change anyone's mind. I'm just here to inform you about what we're doing. But thank you. I appreciate your thoughts. And as I said to the other individual, willing to have further conversations with you. Would love to sit down with you one-on-one and find out where we can find common ground and find a solution to concerns that you may have. So thank you.
Hello,
Thank
this
you,
is
Mr.
Catherine
Rand.
Kennedy. And
Catherine, hold on. Lynette's
Jeysaun, if you could, Jeysaun, handle the who's. I don't want to choose. If you could.
Yes, I'd like to say,
No problem.
if it's my turn to speak, I've done some research on the cannabis industry, and you're absolutely right. Pre-COVID, they thought that Massachusetts would tap out at about 350 million. This year, they just passed over $1.5 billion. So to have a person of color, black and brown, with a seat at the table to have access to that type of wealth to enrich our communities, I think it would be a shame to let it go to a white face. I'm a minority. I'm Jewish. I cannot speak as a person of color, but I think, growing up in Dorchester, to have some outside corporation come in and Massachusetts is on par to do almost 5 to 6 billion, they said this year. Out of the 33 legal states in the United States, we're on par to be the #1 grossing taxable base for cannabis. So the incredible things that Mr. Keith, Mr. Finney, Mr. Solomon, his wife can do for this community, that will bring in the banks. As far as I've done in research with the banking and the credit and the property,
I definitely appreciate it. I am going to have to mute you now just so we can get back to the question portion of this. So bringing that back, Lois M., you have had your hand raised. Then Miss Catherine, we are going to be going to you right after, okay?
thank you.
No problem. So Lois, go ahead.
Hi, where the owners abutting the building that he is dealing with, and I'm hearing all of everything that he says, and it seems like it doesn't matter whatever we bring or whatever our concerns are, it doesn't matter. So I just want to go on the record. My name is Ingrid. I just want to go on the record that I'm totally against it.
And same here. This is Lois. I am against it because the thing is, I feel like, why are we even having a meeting if it doesn't even matter? Why are we even here if it doesn't even matter what we have to say? You know, I remember talking with Mr. Keith, and he said that, I think I forgot the location, that you were rejected and then you came to this location. So my question is, why this location? Why this location?
When we just started up.
Sure, I can answer that question.
We're finally cleaning it up, and we're still having issues right now going on. And here comes now, we're bombarded now with this cannabis, another cannabis, which doesn't make any sense. I'm hearing everything you guys are saying, and it's more to me about money. It's not even about what we feel, what we're going through as a community. It's just about money. We have people that lives here for generations upon generations. We don't need no more of this stuff.
And you know, we're not knocking money because we know we all need money. I get it, but there's other ways of doing it. And I understand the last person that just spoke, you know, you're telling us about these billions of dollars. Sometimes that's not what it's all about. If that's the case and we have all these millions of dollars, pour it into that youth center that we have been trying to get for years for our youth for so long. Why aren't we pushing this? You know, the same person that spoke said that I got contractors that can move this along. Get the contractors to move the youth center along. Why do we need another cannabis? I don't care if it's delivery. I don't care if there's a line. And yes, there has been line. The person that said they drove by and don't see any lines, you're not driving by 24/7. We have witnessed this. We have witnessed people turning around in the middle of the street and, you know, just blocking traffic, parking in front of our driveways. We don't know who it is because there's a line at the cannabis. You're saying that that's not going to happen. You're saying that now.
It's happening.
Oasis told us that they had 9 slots for parking and not one customer. I drive by there because I live in the neighborhood. Not one customer is parked over there. Why should we believe you now?
Thank you.
You should believe us that we won't have Oh, go ahead, Jeysaun.
No, you're all set. For one thing that I definitely
go ahead.
want to clarify is, sorry, I was reading a question in the chat. So I do want to clarify that one, this meeting is a requirement for them to have by the Boston Cannabis Board. Additionally, all comments and letters of opposition and or support that are sent to either myself or the Cannabis Board are counted and do play a part in the decision made by the Cannabis Board. Additionally, this meeting is held to, one, bring the project to the community, so nothing from this meeting is being pretty much cemented in now. There will be no construction happening, no groundbreaking, nothing will be happening. This meeting is specifically just so the community can hear the project proposal and honestly give comments and feedback that the applicant and team can choose to either adhere to and listen to or not. But that is solely upon their decision, as Brian did state, but with community support, that is something that can be given and or, you know, used to oppose the project. So your voice and any comments and or questions you have around the actual proposal can be sent to myself or the Cannabis Board, and they will be heard. Thank you. Brian, you can go ahead and answer the question. I just wanted to give that.
Yeah, no, well, what I want to say is, you know, we're, like I said previously, we're here. We're here to listen to the concerns.
Jason Blum, Tony.
Presented our proposal to you, and what we stand by for is constructive criticism as to what you would like as neighbors to see us change. For us, as someone looking to open a business, not opening the business is, you know, for us, it's not an option. But anything beyond that is an option, and we'd like to hear what we can do and what we can do differently in order to make this more palatable for you. If there's nothing that we can do, if you just don't want it, I mean, well, then that's where we are. So it's not us that's not hearing you. It's the decision that you've made has already been made. But if you're willing to offer constructive criticism and offer some thoughts on what we could change about our business and our business model, that's why we're here, and that's what we're here to listen for. In your comments, you said that there's no point for you being here. I would disagree. But you have to ask us to do something in order for us to do it. If you don't ask us to do something, we can't do anything. We can only go with the proposal that we've put forward. But we're all ears. And we have got the pad of paper that's pretty much blank, except for my personal notes, about what you would like to see us do and what you would like to see about our project to change in order for it to be more palatable. But saying don't open, that for us, that's not an option.
Okay, can I say something?
I thought I was next.
Okay,
Yes,
go ahead.
Ms. Lynette, can you wait a second?
Sure.
Thank you. My name is Catherine Kennedy. I live in the block of Devon Street between Warren and Blue Hill. So I live next door to Ingrid and Lois. We are a two-family house and we have owned the property since 1954. And unfortunately, we're the only house on the street that does not have a driveway. So my concern is parking for your employees. You mentioned having 5 spots in a lot next to the building off of Blue Hill Avenue, but I'm gathering that's for your trucks. And so where will your employees park?
Yep.
I want to be able to come home and be able to park in front of my home.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
My second question is, I know you mentioned some, my brain just went dead. You mentioned having, not policemen, but security service. And I'm just wondering if your vans are parked in that lot, is there going to be, besides cameras, any kind of surveillance? Because what would keep people from not realizing that there are vaults that they can't break into, and that cause some additional crime in the area? If people are trying to break into your vans, unless you're putting up some kind of a high gate fence across the parking.
I'll answer the second question first. So at the end of the night, the vehicles will not have cannabis in them. The facility itself will have a secure vault, and that's where any product that's stored overnight will be.
So people know that it's not in the vans. Are you assuming people just know that it's not in the vans, and if they won't be tempted to try to break into them?
No, I mean, I think we would have the same problem that anybody's vehicle has is, how do you know that the car that you park on the street, how does someone who's making the decision that they want to break into a vehicle, that they're not going to break into your vehicle if it's not on the street, or anyone's vehicle, not just yours? So no, I mean, we're going to park it in our secure lot, and, we'll have cameras, and it'll be obvious that the location is under surveillance. And then we'll make the decision that everyone does who parks off street, that we've done everything we can to mitigate someone who wants to break in. But it's just like anything else. We can't stop people from breaking into vehicles, but the vehicles won't have cannabis in them at the end of the day. Your first question, where would the employees park? I'll make a commitment tonight, and I'm making it publicly in front of Jeysaun and in front of everyone, that we wouldn't open this facility until we have additional contracted parking for our employees, where they can park locally and then walk to our location. Right now, we have 8 parking spots on site. 3 of those spots are dedicated for delivery vans. So our employees would never, when they're on site, our employees would never park in those 3 dedicated spots, because those are dedicated for the delivery vans, which we'll only have 3 of. So with that, we'll have 5 on-site parking. So the commitment that I'm making is that until we have additional off-site parking, that's contracted to us, for us, and solely for us, we will not open this facility.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your question.
Can you please repeat that last part about not opening up the facility?
Sure. Yeah. So what I said was currently we have 8 on-site parking spots. 3 of those spots are dedicated for delivery. So when the store is active, when the location is open, we have 5 spots for our employees, 3 that are dedicated to our delivery vehicles. Until we have additional off-site parking contracted solely for the use of our building and our employees, we will not open this location. So even if we're certified by the city and the state to open, we're agreeing today with the community that we will not open, excuse me, we will not commence operations, as they call it, until we have additional parking for our employees.
Okay, now if it wasn't for the parking, right, my question is, were you or are you still going to establish this business even though it's clear that your people are against it? You have your brothers and sisters here who are completely against this facility. We don't need any more substances in the community that are putting our people to sleep. We don't need any more liquor stores or cannabis stores in the community. And it seems like you're being used as a tool to be placed in our community for our people. That's my thought. Again, I'm completely opposed to it. And it's clear that many others are opposed to it. So that's my stance on it. And it seems like, aside from the parking, you plan on establishing the business anyway, because you're saying when.
So, well, first, I think that when we see a Black person, before you, starting a business and trying to do something, we shouldn't feel that that Black person is being used as a tool just because he's a Black person. I am a Black person. My wife is a Black person. James is a Black person, and we're starting a business. We're not being used as a tool. We're starting a business with our money, and we're putting this together with our thoughts and our ideas. This is not, there's, someone behind us with strings that are, controlling us. The 5 of us are starting a business, but I appreciate you. With regards to what you said about the business, yeah, like I said, we want to start this business. And for us, whether we were starting an ice cream shop or something else, we would want to and have to work with the community on what the ultimate project and proposal looks like. But to say that we can't do it, right, that is unacceptable to us because we want to do it, and it's a legal business, it's a legal product, and it's, we're within our rights to do it at this location. So what we are asking you about, and I'll put the obvious thing out there. Our hours are 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. The obvious thing to say is, well, can you reduce your hours? No one's even asked us to reduce our hours. So what I'm saying is that the community has to ask us to do something differently in order for us to do something differently. But if no one makes a request, then we can't do anything.
I've been trying to ask that question, but I've been having my hand up and I haven't gotten a chance to speak on that, on any issue. Can I go ahead and ask some questions here?
Yes, you can.
I'm happy to have you. I asked Jeysaun to kind of facilitate the Q&A, but I'm happy to say, Lynette, yes, please ask your question.
Go ahead, Lynette.
Okay, I have a couple. The first question I want to say, it's pretty good that you have African American or people of color trying to maintain position where we can open a business. Okay, I'm good for that. But as I grew up in the city of Dorchester, my sisters own the house that is adjoined to what is going to be perhaps your business. I'm totally opposed to that and I'm just kind of disappointed because it was the same kind of song and dance that we heard when there was opening up the Oasis. Okay, it's the same pony dance that's coming back around. And the thing is, there is other sort of business. I can't tell you what to do, but there's other sort of business that would be beneficial to our community it's particularly when you say young people, we are young people in here trying to maintain our residency in Boston, purchasing home, taking care of them, along with the elder generation. We merge together. But when we have a cannabis store that's already been open, and yes, there is line because I'm there all the time. I drove back and forth. Sometimes when I come to park, I have to go around the block because people are parking in the residency that's been there for over 40 something years, and they can't even park because then there is a parking thing. That's one. Okay, the hours, these are church going folks in this community, believe it or not. And for you to say you're going to open it 7 days a week from 7 to 9 p.m., well, that's unacceptable. That is totally unacceptable, because then there's churches, a couple of churches around there. There's also schools in this zone. Okay, and yes, this is a distribution, but it might start out as a distribution because, you know, and then it end up with something else. Okay, because then that's how it's always been. And for young men of color, I'm kind of disappointed because there's so much things that needs to be in this community that will let our young people know it's okay to do this. Then the thing that we basically been trying to clean up in the community and has been cleaning up in the community, and now that we finally getting that sort of thing out, it's coming back in a different form, which is unacceptable. I grew up in this community. I saw it flip back and forth. And if we want to truly be contributing members to our community that we live in, cannabis should not be the number one attraction. I mean, go look up and down Blue Hill Ave. There's a bunch of fast food places. You tell me you can't think about putting a good, reasonable health store or health restaurant in there? Our people are dying from diabetes, high blood pressure, because we have all these things that are coming in here and no one is not saying anything, but we are looking at the profit and the bottom line. We have to stop this because we're killing each other. I want to see you guys succeed just as much as you guys want to succeed. But I also want to know that my community, the one that I am trying to grow into and I'm trying to invest in, and as I'm a mother of a 21-year-old male, that when he comes back, he out to school at Tufts. When he comes back in, he sees another cannabis owned by African American men. That is so disappointing to me, because then that's not what we're supposed to be about. And I know you guys are saying people are going to bring, if you don't do it, someone else is going to do it. Well, you know what? If we all take a stand and we say, okay, we have one here. Okay, let's do something positive. Let's show you guys, show my son that's not only cannabis that belongs in his community. It is disheartening to me. It is sad. I don't know if you guys have kids, but as a mother and as a member of this community, and seeing people like Miss Catherine that lives on the street for years and taking care of her home, and sometimes come home and can't find parking because we have a cannabis store. And these people not live in our neighborhood. So I'm not sure how reinvested they're going to be in. They, you know, so you guys really need to think and give us a chance, and not saying, you know, not think we're knocking you down. I'm not knocking you down, because I want to see you success, and I want to see you successful, because then I believe in the American dream. But when it's coming in that point of view, because it's the same song and pony dance like the other one did. And then when they came in here, they said, oh, we have parking, it's not going to be any line. That's a lie, blatant lie. There's lines. This disrespectful on Sunday morning when I'm going driving to church and see there's a line next to a church, a God-fearing church. That is, you know, and the core of our inheritance, the backbone is the church. If we opposing to it, you guys have to listen. We have to learn to not talk at each other, but listen to each other, and then come up with a compromise plan. Okay, because to me, that's all I have to say on that. But I am totally opposed to this. I think we can go so many routes on this whole thing. And you know, please stop disappointing my son, because then that's what it is. When he comes home, what is he going? What are you guys telling him? The only thing we can do is in our community, because everybody's doing it, and it's very lucrative, is to bring in these products into our community and make money off of this. No, show him something else. Show the younger generation something else. That's all I'm saying. This is where we live. Shame on you guys if you think this is all we can do for our community. Our elderly are dying from high blood pressure, diabetes, and stuff because we have so many fried food. You know what I mean? So many liquor stores. Now we're bringing in cannabis more into our community. We have one less than 500 feet away. Now we're going to do distributing. Next, what else are we going to bring into it? We're going to start lining them up and injecting them with it and saying it's okay, but we're going to give back to your community.
Do you have a question that Brian can answer? I definitely appreciate your comment.
I just want to correct the record. You said it was 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. We're definitely not doing that. We've proposed 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and we would welcome your thoughts on if you would want to hear about a different start and end time for our day. And I hear you with regards to customers. We can't control customers. But like I said, we won't have customers. We will only have employees. We have more control over employees because we can say if you park here, if you park like this, or if you do these things that are within the Good Neighbor Pledge that all employees will have to sign, you will not be an employee here. We can't say that to customers, but we will not have customers. And you say yet, and I hear you. Rules change, things change, people change their minds. I'd be willing to sign a pledge with the city, with the community groups that says that we will not change this business license to anything other than what we're proposing today, which is a business that does home delivery to customers. I'd be willing to sign that because I don't live in Grove Hall, but I live, right at the other end of Blue Hill Ave, near St. Patrick's Church. So, I am from this community.
Okay, so I want to just say one more thing, okay? Now you said you're a distributing company, right? Have you guys even thought about the fact that what about the new marketplace? That's a distributing location. Did you try that venue? Because this is not a distributing. This is not a distributing venue. This is a residential area, and it does have businesses, but this is not a distributing area. New Market has space there. Have you tried renting one of those warehouses or something since it's a distributing venue? I mean,
we are looking at a second, to answer your question. Yeah, we are looking at a second location, and New Market would be a viable location. Yeah, I think that what we don't want to do as a business in an emerging market, we don't want to limit ourselves, and we shouldn't be asking ourselves to be smaller. We should be asking ourselves, Black business, grow. We see white-owned businesses growing all the time. We see white people from different communities that open liquor stores in our community, that open things that we don't necessarily want to see in our community. I think that when it comes to Black businesses, people who are from here, I went to O'Brien. I could list all the elementary schools I went to, but I won't. I did graduate from the O'Brien. So I've been here my entire life. So I know the concerns and I recognize the concerns of this community. My mom lived on Devon Street when she was young. You know what I mean? So we understand the neighborhood, we understand the concerns, and we want to be good neighbors as we move through this process, and we want to work with you. As I said, our hours are 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. We'd be willing to hear from you if you have a different proposed time, and we'd love to hear that time and work with you on it.
Okay, fair.
Thank you, Brian.
Can I say something, please?
I don't know who was asking, but can you raise your hand?
Yes.
Jeysaun, Lara C Publishing at gmail.com has had her hand up for a very long time.
She's on my list too.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Then go ahead, Jeysaun. You keep it up.
No problem. I'm trying to just get through everyone as there is a high volume of people who do wish to speak. So Althea, I do have you here. Can you unmute yourself? Go ahead and ask your question. Althea, can you hear us? I see that you've taken yourself off mute. One final time. Althea, can you hear us? All right, you can keep your hand raised. I'll be moving on. Michael Kozu. Mike, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
Outside of all the comments that a number of residents and community members have said that I agree with, and I also agree the final point was that your location is really not ideal for a distribution site. When you look at the corner of Blue Hill and Devon, and a courier site would seem to mean that you would need to have a lot of deliveries going in and out of a parking space that's right on Blue Avenue and Devon, where it's always crowded. There's always lines of congestion. You're going to have trouble. Your vehicle is going to have tremendous trouble trying to get onto Blue Avenue. We've already heard how crowded Devon Street is, and Warren Street is not much better. For that to be a distribution site really is problematic. I also have questions about impacting the parking spaces of Ms. Graham's house, that if she ever sells that property, that's going to impact her property and her ability to sell that property. There's just a number of tremendous problems with your site on Sundays and Saturday. Sunday, Saturdays, and Friday, there's a lot of different church and other faith-based activities going on in that neighborhood. It's always parked out along those streets. There's always a lot of traffic that's right there. Your vehicles are going to have a hard time going in and out. There's going to be a lot of just delays in terms of what's going on. So on one hand, you say that you don't have I mean, you do have customer in the sense that your vehicles are going to be coming in and out or trying to go up to do the deliveries. We also know that there's a lot of robberies of delivery vehicles, of delivery drivers that go on. I don't think your plan really address that. And especially if your employees are not able to carry offensive weapons, then they're going to be at risk of being robbed as well. But those are just some of the stuff. But be very clear that when you met with the Project Right group, there's tremendous opposition, and I think that our viewpoint hasn't changed from what we've heard tonight.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes, I would just ask a question of you, Michael. We'll have 3 vehicles. So if 3 additional people, let's say we didn't open our store, but 3 additional people join the congregation of the church, would that then create gridlock and havoc on Blue Hill Ave because of those 3 different additional church members that came on a Sunday?
That's just such a false statement, because your guys are going to be coming in and out, because they're going to be doing deliveries on an ongoing basis. So for some to go to church, go to church and then they leave. But your guys are going to be going in and out depending upon the deliveries you have to make.
That's right. Churches are there on Sunday and then they leave. We're going to be an economic engine that's there 7 days a week. Absolutely. So we'll have, over the course of our business, 39 employees that will not only be local, but also injecting their money into the local Grove Hall economy. That being said, we will only have 3 delivery vehicles. And just so everybody's aware, we will be doing a traffic study. We will be paying for a traffic study and then distributing that traffic study publicly so that everyone can see it. I don't know what the results of that traffic study will be, but I can anticipate that it will say that the addition of 3 delivery vehicles into the community will not cause a tremendous impact on the community, even though they will be doing deliveries in and out. Additionally, I foresee it saying something to the effect of the fact that we'll be taking, and when I say taking customers away from Pure Oasis, we won't be taking customers away from Pure Oasis, but we'll be facilitating their transactions at the customer's door versus at Pure Oasis. So instead of the traffic that was described that is, creating lines in front of Pure Oasis, people parking in front of Pure Oasis, our business will actually alleviate that issue, because more of those people will choose to still order from Pure Oasis, but have their product delivered by us or by another provider to their door versus having to come to Pure Oasis. I have seen people going in and out of Pure Oasis, and whatever, I'll say it. I don't think that they all live in the Grove Hall area. They might be from outside of Boston. They might be from other neighborhoods. That could be the case. So instead of those people coming from outside of Boston or coming from other neighborhoods in Boston who like and enjoy the products that Pure Oasis offers, we can facilitate those transactions at their door and thereby alleviating the traffic in front of Pure Oasis and bringing it to the customer's door versus on Blue Hill Ave. So again, I think that because of the technology that we'll bring to bear and just the fact that we'll be taking transactions off of Pure Oasis's doorstep and in front of Pure Oasis's door or the customer's door, it will alleviate traffic. And then the addition of our 3 vehicles that will enter and exit on Blue Hill Ave, not on Devon, not on Sunderland, not on Brunswick, but on Blue Hill Ave, I do not believe that it will be a negative impact to the traffic in the area.
Thank you, Brian. Next, we're going to Lyra C. Publishing.
And can I just, before Lyra says, and I'm sorry, you've had your hand up for so long, I also just want to say that our couriers will never be on site. Our couriers are the individuals who will do pickups and deliveries at the different cannabis businesses, whether it's Pure Oasis or the Cannabis or any other. They will never be on site. They'll be doing deliveries and pickups at other businesses, dropping off at their customers. So at the end of the day, they're just facilitators. Our 3 vehicles are the vehicles that will be on site and then, picking up from our warehouse and delivering to customers. Thank you. Sorry about that, Lyra C.
Lyra, go ahead. Can you hear us?
You're muted, Lyra C. You're muted. Nope. Nope, still can't hear you.
You should be unmuted. Lyra, can you hear us? I see you coming on and off mute. Can you hear us? Still nothing.
I'm actually a professional lip reader. She can hear us, but we cannot hear her.
I see. Lyra, can you type your question in the chat and I'll just read it out loud once you finish? So now we'll move on. I have Lessa Canty.
Yes,
there we
can
go.
you hear me?
Yes, we
So
can.
my understanding is that you're a warehouse, but you will be almost like doing DoorDash to your
No, that's fair.
customers.
Yeah, that's a fair way to put it. Yeah,
And
yeah.
are
They'll order online or on an app, and then we'll facilitate their order with our delivery vehicles. Yes.
okay? Now, are you in partnership with the cannabis people across the street?
No. So we are not in. No, we're not in association with Pure Oasis or
Okay.
at this time any other cannabis business. As a courier, we would facilitate their transactions directly. As our own home delivery business, we would facilitate our transactions to our customers directly.
All right. Wait a minute. The other last thing, someone also mentioned about the safety of your couriers, and I think that's going to be a problem. And
Yeah,
thank you.
and so I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think that, but we didn't make that rule. That's a rule that comes from the Cannabis Control Commission at the state. So whether you go to a cannabis facility in Boston or Springfield or in the Berkshires, they all have the same rules where the security personnel at those facilities are not able to have, any type of weapon on them. So that's not a rule that we've put in place. That's a rule that's in place by the state that we have to follow. If we want the state to license us, we have to follow that rule. So I don't disagree with you, but it's something that we have to live with. And maybe we will petition to the state and express that this is a safety concern. But as of right now, that's the rule that all companies, whether they're a brick and mortar or a delivery business, it's just that's a rule from the state.
The last question, will the courier be able to have on their person a button that they will be able to push or something in the car if they get in trouble of delivery or get to be robbed? Will they be able to access, because you said you had state of the arts vans, so I'm just wondering, will they have some kind of safety feature in the van or on their person, since they won't be able to carry anything on them to protect themselves?
Yeah, kind of like a panic button. I mean, I think that that's something that is worthwhile and something that we would absolutely look into and likely invest in, because we want our drivers to be safe, we want our customers to be safe, and if there is a problem, whether it's on the road or at the door, we want our customers to, we want our drivers and our customers to be able to protect themselves in any way they can. And our facility, as I mentioned, we will share, live in real time our security cameras with BPD, Boston Police, and then all of the vehicles internally are recorded. What happens on the inside of the driver's cabin. Additionally, each driver, similar to BPD, each driver wears a body camera. So when they do walk up to the individual to facilitate the transaction, that person's image is recorded, as well as everything that happens during that transaction is recorded.
Brian?
Yes.
Thank you for that question. So I have Spacey, then Yvette, and then I have Desiree. Okay? Spacey, can you come off mute?
Good evening. My question is, I know you mentioned as far as parking, and say parking issues, you have no overcoming.
Spacey, you're breaking up.
In a accountability for your business is okay. Can me now? Can you hear me?
You're still breaking up for me a little bit. Brian, were you able to hear?
Yep. I didn't hear the question, but I think it's coming through better now.
Okay. Just to sum it up in a nutshell. As far as accountability for your delivery drivers, when they are making deliveries, particularly in residential neighborhoods, what accountability will you have for them as far as you being the owner of this business? Because of course you living in the community are probably aware of the parking issues that are prevalent throughout the city, and especially residential areas, and particularly in our communities. As far there's always a parking issue, as far as delivery people blocking driveway access, people who don't live in the neighborhood blocking driveway access, particularly if the person who needs to get in or out the driveway has an emergency. And a lot of times, even from my personal experience and all the issues we have with parking on Faiston Street in Grove Hall, delivery people are just as disrespectful as the common Joe. And as a person that also kind of deals with customer service, that leaves a bad taste in somebody's mouth if you have a unprofessional interaction with a delivery person. So if your company's delivery person is delivering something to my next door neighbor and they're blocking my driveway, and we get into tiff taff and say if I was even interested, and say, oh well, maybe I might patronize this business. I know after that interaction I wouldn't. So I'm just curious, what accountability will you have for your delivery people?
As Bill Clinton would say, I feel your pain. I'm going to show you my phone. I don't know if you can see it. but this is my 311 right here. This is my driveway, constantly blocked, constantly blocked.
Oh yeah, that's
Constantly
my
blocked.
that's my
Yeah,
life story
so
too.
so I understand. I understand where you're coming from. I live it every single day where we live in Roxbury, where people are extremely inconsiderate as to where they park and how they feel about, you know, whether or not they care about if you can or cannot get out of your driveway. So I get it. I get it, and I live it every single day. And I wouldn't want to put that, you know, crappy part of what we have to deal with, my wife Joanne and I have to deal with, um, on anyone else in our neighborhood or in the city of Boston where we would be delivering. Our vehicles will all be GPS tracked, and you know, we won't have markings on them, but you know, we will want to know if our drivers are not being good neighbors, whether it's in the Grove Hall neighborhood or any other neighborhood in the city of Boston where we will be delivering. We want to be good neighbors to this community and to this city, and we won't have any patience for drivers who are not good neighbors. Not being a good neighbor is exactly what you described: blocking a driveway, blocking a street, you know, halfway blocking the street or something like that. That's not acceptable. There's always a way to find a. It might be inconvenient to the driver, but there's always a way to find a place to park that does not inconvenience the residents and the neighbors of this city. I'll tell you what happened to me just yesterday. I needed to go pick up my son from school, and I came outside. The entire street was clear, but there was a box truck blocking the driveway. And I came out and I was like, how is this even possible? There's a spot all over. There was a spot right in front of my house, but they chose to block the driveway. So no, I get it. I hear you. And we will have zero tolerance for that type of behavior.
Thank you, Brian. You back? Are you still here? Can you ask your question? Yvette Muhammad, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. Thank you.
You spoke, sir, about viable businesses. I don't think anyone here would not want to see anyone not have a viable business. However, because of the hurt and the pain that this kind of product has had on our community, I hope you feel what each of us are saying with respect to this being something that we do not want to have. As Don Muhammad's eldest daughter, to use the former property that he had for this kind of business is not just hurtful, it is extremely hurtful. When I look back over the years of sacrifice that he made trying to get individuals off of drugs. Now you talk about this being legal. Well, yes, selling pork is legal. However, your Muslim partners also have Muslims in our community who sell pork to individuals, which is against the Quran. So this kind of a business, whether it's 5 billion or 750 billion, it is something that our community, with all due respect, could do better by providing a different service. You want something constructive. I'd like to see you take a third of what comes into your business and put it towards having some kind of facility for those who are, for lack of a better phrase, unable to handle the recreational aspect of cannabis, and therefore are dealing with something that potentially makes them homeless, potentially makes them want to be someone who attacks another individual in order to be able to get this particular product. Also, the look at license. Are you going to use, because this is something I put several questions in the chat earlier. Are you going to use the enhanced license? Because it's very easy to come up with fake licenses. We see this all the time. We hear about it all the time. There are things that is just very painful for us to be able to be at this juncture in time. And if you wanted to ask the community, as somebody who spent 50 years in that particular building growing up, I could have given you a litany of other projects that could help to heal our community. You want to talk about traffic? I know traffic firsthand from when we had customers come into the building. There are just so many things that would be so beneficial if it were not this. Lastly, close Sunday, God's Day.
Thank you.
Don't be open when our children are going to school or coming from school. Just some minor suggestions to keep our community, our future safe. But I am totally against this as a project. Again, not trying to hinder you from making money because you should, but just making it this way is not.
No, I appreciate all of your comments, and I would actually like to engage with you further and discuss some of the things that you said. Closing on Sunday is something that we would consider. We would consider it, and we would actually have conversations about, if not closing all the way, having enhanced hours or amended hours for Sunday that see us impacting less with the church traffic in the neighborhood. But closing on Sunday is something that we would consider, and we would kind of look at it as a spectrum of, do we amend the hours, or do we strictly close? I think both of those could be on the table. As far as a third of the profits, a third is a lot. I don't think we can do a third, but we would absolutely consider some level part of our budget that goes specifically towards people dealing with recovery. As with regards to the types of licenses, you're referring to the Rail ID versus the standard licenses, and I agree with you. I think that eventually, in the next few years, we'll all have to begin using the Rail ID, and we can agree to use Rail ID or passports, government issue passports as modes of identification for our customers to ensure that, they are who they say they are, and that the individuals who are ordering are the individuals who we are passing the product off to. So I appreciate your constructive comments, and I would like to engage with you further so that we can, hammer out some of these things. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. So just checking back, Lyra, can you unmute yourself? I saw that you had put a comment in the chat. So once again, Lyra. Nope. Okay. Althea, checking in with you again. You are unmuted. Can you speak? Are you here to ask your question? All right, not hearing anything.
She's here. I think
We can't.
Oh,
She's trying, but we can't hear her. Are you connected to your car maybe? Can you try and maybe connect to your phone?
Switch the layout.
We can't hear you.
No.
No.
Althea, we still can't hear you. Can you type your question in the chat and then I'll raise it to Brian and he can respond? just so we can continue with the questions. Desiree, I have you next. Desiree, are you here to ask your question?
Now?
Yep.
Okay, hold on. Hello?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Hi, good evening. As a member of the Roxbury and Dorchester community growing up for the last 42 years of my life, I just have a few things I wanted to ask Brian pertaining to the business he's starting. Isn't it correct, Brian, that the business you're starting does not need any signage for anyone to even realize what you are storing inside your facility or even in your vehicles? The only reason why it is being known now is because it's a part of your licensing process.
Yeah, to answer your
Meaning,
question, we don't
it's
need.
very private.
Yeah, absolutely. So the vehicles are unmarked, and the building itself, we don't have to, because it's employees only. We don't really have to advertise. We won't advertise, and we won't have any signage on the building. It'll just be, we'll be beautifying and improving the current streetscape, because right now it's in really tough shape. It's a tough looking building right now. We would just be improving that, but we wouldn't be putting any signage to say, who we are or what we're have in the building.
And one more question. In most scenarios, even though you are saying that you will be able to help the foot traffic over at the brick and mortar that's nearby, wouldn't it be fair to say that you would be taking most of your products away from the Grove Hall area in regular average 3 vehicles that could be mixed in everyday traffic coming and going from anywhere throughout the city, correct?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. We've got 3 vehicles, and would it be coming and going? Yes, it'd be coming in and out on the main drag of Blue Hill Ave. But when I was driving earlier, I had to cut across Blue Hill Ave to take a left, and sometimes they take a right. I mean, it's cars. That's what we do when we drive our vehicles.
And last question, you would also be bringing 30 plus jobs to the community, regardless of what product it is. And it's not a product that has been known to be a killer of the Grove Hall area because of my memory. It's the dope and the crack epidemic that killed the neighborhood, not THC.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're going to be we plan on having 39 jobs. We may have a little less, but our goal is to have even more. If we have growth and if we see the need, we want to hire more people, and we want to hire more people of color from this community, giving them high paying jobs, full benefits, dental, down payment assistance, profit sharing. When we're doing well, we want our employees to do well. So they're not just taking home a paycheck, but they're getting paid on the profits that we're creating. So we want to give people from this community an opportunity to own in this community. Too many of us in this community rent from people who don't look like us. I want people, that we employ to buy homes, own homes, and then rent to people who look like us. You know what I mean? Or just have single family homes. But I want to give people opportunities to stay in Boston instead of having to move to Brockton or having to move to New Bedford or something like that in order to find something that they can afford. We want to give people good paying jobs with benefits so that they can take care of their families. That's what we're looking to do.
So Brian, if my child was to walk past your facility, if they weren't at this meeting this evening, they would not know what you are operating in unless they had a job there.
Right.
Correct?
No, a young person walking by would have no idea. When I was growing up, I lived in the Ashmont area. I would get off at Shawmut, but sometimes I would get off at Ashmont Station so that I could go to the liquor store across the street, not to buy liquor, but I would buy a bag of chips and I would buy, soda or something like that, because that's what I did when I was a young person. I went into the liquor store to do that. Young people, one, can't go into dispensaries unless you're 21 plus, and customers in general can't come into our building because, one, it's going to be nondescript, and 2, it's going to be employees only. So there will be no young people knowing what we are. And even if they know what we are, there's just no reason for them to get in because there's no purchase and sale at this location.
Or signage for them to even expect that that product is inside of there.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you, Althea. Going to Desiree. As you are next on the list, are you here to ask your question?
Did you say Jason Blauner?
No.
No.
Desiree. See you here. Your
I
hand.
had a comment that I was going to expand on some things that I've read in the past of cannabis history in
Jason,
Massachusetts.
we're going back to questions, man. I appreciate your comment, but I
Okay.
am trying to hit everyone on the list who wants to speak. There is a large list, all right?
Okay, sir.
So seeing that she is not here, Andrina?
Thank you. Can you hear
Okay, we
me?
can hear you. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Is your product coming directly from you, and how are you ensuring that it is not coming from a source that is using cannabis to weaponize Black and Brown communities? Would you ever, and have you ever considered another product, not cannabis, any form of drug or alcohol? Like, have you ever considered something else that you believe is equally or even more so lucrative or viable? And what would your response be to someone who considers that building something that should be listed on the historical register? The way that the home on Dale Street for Malcolm X has significance for many people. I'm just wondering if you have some answers for those.
Yeah, no, I mean, my wife and I, she's actually here. I think she's still here. She can talk about our home. It's not listed on the historical registry, but we consider a historical home. It's a former Mayor Curley home. It's was constructed in 1833. We love history, and we would love to work with you, if possible, to get this building listed as a registered nationally as a historic place. So no, I love that idea, and and like I said, our goal is to be a nondescript building, but our goal is also to make this building, make this corner, which we believe is a prominent corner, more beautiful and more attractive than it is currently, while still maintaining the current beauty and image of the building as it is today, but just improving it. So no, I love that idea. As far as where the cannabis products are coming from, the state mandates that all products that we sell must come from businesses and manufacturers within the state of Massachusetts. The state also regulates cannabis extremely closely, as you can imagine, and they have what they call seed to sale tracking. So from when a cannabis seed is planted and grown and manufactured into whatever is being sold, whether it's flour or an edible product, the state is tracking that individual seed from its inception until it's finally sold to the end user, and it even tracks the end user that it's being sold to. So we have no control over the product itself, but the state is monitoring it extremely closely to ensure that what we're putting in the community is a safe, reasonable product, and not laced with anything that you could potentially find when purchasing on the street. And then as far as another product more viable, can you speak more on that? And I'm not sure what you mean with that question. I just want to understand it better.
I'm just wondering if selling cannabis was like your first thought, like if there was anything else that you thought of selling, if there was any other business that you thought. You were mentioning we could just ask questions about like the product. And I'm just thinking, have you considered any other products that you consider viable in terms of just like making an income or what have you? Have you considered some other things outside of cannabis, alcohol? Just wondering if there's something else that you ever thought of selling.
So me personally, this is my first type of venture into this type of market, into this field. We have other cannabis businesses that we're looking to start in different parts of the city. That being said, my business partners own the Dudley Cafe in Nubian Square, where they bring, healthy products as well as baked goods and other, rice bowls and things like that, and salads and things like that to Nubian Square, which is, it's improving now, but it has been for many years something of a food desert. So they do that. They also own the Shanti Indian restaurants in Dorchester, Rosendale, Cambridge, and they just recently opened a Shanti Indian restaurant in Nubian Square. So we are in different industries that are not necessarily cannabis related. And we are in different industries where we do bring, not to say that this business in Grove Hall isn't positive, but where we do bring, I guess you would say, wholesome family related businesses for people who are not 21 plus. But you know, anyone can go into Shanti and anyone can go into the Dudley Cafe. We would actually love it if more people came to the Dudley Cafe on a daily and weekly basis.
I guess I'm wondering what inspired you to do this particular, to go into this particular area of business. I think that's thought.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, that's a good question. Well, we were inspired by the fact that we recognized that, you know, when this became legalized on the medical side, in I want to say 2014 or 2016, when medical became legal, it became dominated by people out of state and by people who did not look like the community that had been for so many years ravaged by the war on drugs. It was a very white business, and it was a very cost prohibitive business for people of color and people like you and I. There was a requirement to just have $500,000 that just sat there that you couldn't touch, plus the other startup costs to open a medical facility. That wasn't for us. That wasn't for our community. The policies that were in place were not for us. There was recognition when recreational became legalized in 2018 that there needed to be more equity put in place as recreational licenses were rolled out. So it became less cost prohibitive to open one of these types of businesses. We recognize still that the industry was not looking like us. It was a lot of out-of-state people coming in. It was a lot of people that were not from this community who were looking to cite cannabis businesses in our community. So we said, no, we can't do this. And I know someone mentioned it earlier that I looked like a puppet. There were people who approached me, and there were people with a lot of money who approached our business partners and said, we'll give you this money if you just be the face of this company. We told them no. We had unlimited funds behind us who were willing to back us in this and other endeavors in cannabis, and we told them no, because we didn't want this to be a fake business run by fake people up front with white benefactors behind them. We wanted this to be a truly person of color owned, operated, run, and invested in business. That's why we wanted to bring this to this community the way we brought it. With 43 investors, 99.9% of our investors are people of color. Black, Caribbean, Asian, Latin. We just brought on our first white investor who invested $1,250. That's our minimum investment, with a maximum investment of $100,000. We want people of color to join us in this endeavor so that when this or our other cannabis businesses are successful, we're successful. I mean, our neighbors are successful too. So why did we get into this business? Because we didn't want this product that was so harmful to our community for so many years to be dominated by white people. We wanted to build a model that allowed not just us to be successful in it, but our community and our neighbors to also be successful in it. And
Thank you, Brian.
it was said earlier, it's going to happen. It's already happening. Why not us? And when I say us, I don't mean me, my wife, and the other owners. I mean me, my wife, the other owners, and the other Black and brown investors that we've brought to the table in this billion-dollar industry. Why not us?
Thank you, Brian. Sister Virginia, you are now unmuted.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We're getting lots of feedback
Good
from you.
evening.
Do you have more than one device connected to the meeting?
No, I do not. No, I do not. No, I do not. I think
I have
I might
three
be
devices for you there.
I might be opening more than one.
All right, that should have cut all the feedback.
Are
Can you
you
try
able-
talking now?
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Are you able? Okay. Good evening. From the very start of this meeting, Brian, everyone, I'd say 99.9% of the persons that you have heard this evening have been positioned to the location of the business at the 415, 417 Blue Hill Avenue site. As you listen to Yvette, the eldest daughter of Minister Don Muhammad, I myself actually was employed in that business at that very site for 30 years as a manager. I'm very much aware of the accidents that have happened on that corner, but I'm not calling about that. I'm calling because I run a nonprofit up in Grove Hall. We've been up in Grove Hall since the 1979. I'm a founding member of Grove Hall Neighborhood Development Corporation. We have focused in on economic development, social justice, job training. You can name every positive aspect of economic empowerment, housing, training, quality of living things, you name it, and we have been involved in it. We've done over $50 million of economic development up and down the Grove Hall, the Blue Hill Avenue corridor. Yes, I did we finally spoke yesterday, I believe. We tried several times, and I was in the hospital and came out, but we still spoke, and I let you know vehemently that our organizations that we have spoke with, Mother Caroline Academy, Charles Street AME, the Freedom House, Muhammad's Mosque number 11, Project Right, and we can go on up and down the Blue Hill Avenue corridor, listing organizations, religious institutions, and schools that are in opposition to this business being located at this site. Listen, let me just say this here. For too long, we have not have access to the economic pie. I understand that. And I have no problem with anyone trying to establish, go into, expand their economic base. My problem and our problem is the location. We have churches there, religious institutions, we have organizations, we have schools. We have young people, seniors that are walking. We are a vibrant residential community that certainly we welcome certain types of businesses. Sister just before asked, would you or have you considered an alternative business? All money is not good money, period. But I'm not focused on mine and hopefully speak for some of the community. Why not take that business? Who cares? Newberry Street, take the 39 employees from our community and go ahead and work, and let them work down in Newberry Street. Or if you think certainly Rosendale Square, Clary Square, economically viable places. Do they have a cannabis location up there? If they do, great. And if they welcome it, take yours up there. We're asking you and the group and great. It's a group of Black and brown and Muslim and Christian people who are interested in going to be a part of this billion-dollar industry. Like I say, is here to come. You also said to me that the majority of the neighborhood supports this. And I'm assuming it is because The community voted yes on the referendum ballot that was on the ballot box, and we supported legalization of marijuana. Well, yes, we did, because young brothers and sisters going to jail, for carrying X amount of cannabis or marijuana or drugs. So whatever we can do to stop our people from being disproportionately going to jail, then that's what we do. But and you said you're a young man, 38, I think is what you said. Young people supported the young lady who in their car who called just and wanted us to know that the building would be camouflage, so to speak. We wouldn't know what was in there. That is not the point. The point is that I personally have spent over 5 decades working hard to transform our community to make it a safe and decent place to live. You're going to come back and say, well, how are we going to make it unsafe? Because I certainly heard that you have put a lot of thought and energy into how to protect your business. The cars, the vehicles, the people, etc. I understand that you have 6
So,
drivers,
Sister Virginia,
9 people
not to
in the
cut you
house.
off, but
My question is, will you please move your proposed business out of the Grove Hall area, where we have one cannabis business located 1 block up the street? We have another one across Columbia Road on Geneva Avenue, and we have others around. We don't need this type of business. We do need economic development. Pull your minds together and come up with another $1 billion idea. That's my question.
Thank you.
You said a lot. I'll just focus on the last question. Will we move out of the Grove Hall area? As of now, no. Our goal is to be at this location, and that's it. What we will, like I've said before, what we will do, we are willing to amend our proposal to be more reflective of what the community would want to see here. But for us, not seeing anything here is not an option. We purchased the building, we legally purchased the building from the previous owner, and we made a decision that this is what we want to place here. And we're here tonight, and we will be here moving forward to have conversations about what we can change about our proposal. And Yvette Mohammed, so far, she has been the only person who's given us some constructive feedback about what we can do to change. Closing on Sunday, ensuring that we're using enhanced licensing, and putting aside a certain amount of our profit to help people dealing with recovery. That's all constructive stuff that we're willing to look at, and we'll work with Yvette Mohammed and Jeysaun to amend our project to reflect that. But just to say no, don't open here, that's not constructive. And we're here to be constructive and to have fruitful conversations about what we can do differently. But for us, saying no is not an option. But I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Carol Montgomery.
I did say I was opposed to it, however, Brian.
I'm sorry?
I did say I was opposed to it.
I'm not sure who's saying that.
That's Yvette Mohammed.
Yvette Mohammed. Yes. No, right. Absolutely. You said that you were opposed, but at the same time, it sounded like a moral or a personal opposition, which we respect. But at the same time, you provided constructive feedback, which we also respect, appreciate, and will work to include in a revised proposal that we bring to the community.
And I also asked if you could not be open while our children are going to school. Please don't forget that.
Yeah, so for our Nubian Square proposal that was approved by the Boston Cannabis Board but denied by the Boston Zoning Board of Appeals, we actually independently decided to close our doors between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m. To respect the fact that, you know, we have about 5 schools in Nubian Square, and we wanted to make sure that we were closing our doors when those schools were dismissing. So that's something that we've already done. That I'm going to wager a bet no other cannabis business in the state of Massachusetts has decided to close their doors when schools are dismissing. But because we're from this community, I live 4 blocks from Nubian Square. I understand the community that I live in, and we made the decision to close our doors and give up 5 revenue hours a week of business that no business says, oh, I'm gonna go give up 5 revenue hours a week because schools are closing. No business does that. No cannabis business does that. We chose independently to do that. So we would work with the community to consider implementing something very similar at this location. Happy to do it.
Thank you, Brian. Carol, you've been unmuted. Do you have a question?
Hi, thank you. Brian, I've heard you say a lot this evening, and I've also just listened to other residents from the community voicing their concern. And I do have a really strong concern about more cannabis businesses coming into our neighborhood. You have a very determined mind that this is what you are planning to move forward with, even though our community has stated that we don't want it there. So my question is, when you first purchased this building, what was your purchase of this building? What did you have in mind for this building when you purchased it?
Yeah. So our business partners purchased the building, and their first intention was to move their offices, which are currently in Nubian Square, to the first floor of this building and place, I believe it was either 4 or 5 units of housing on top of the current structure. So it would have been ground floor retail and either 4 or 5 levels on top. So 5 to 6 stories total. I don't remember what the exact number was. So that was the first plan. My partner approached me and said, hey, do you think that this location would make sense for cannabis? And, you know, after discussions, we said, yeah, I think it would. You know, it's on Blue Hill Ave. It's a main thoroughfare. We would have access to parking, which the parking was already agreed upon for the residential building. So, you know, we had access to parking, we had access to a main thoroughfare, and we had enough size in the building. I believe it's roughly 4,000 to 5,000 square feet of space between the first and second floor. So that's when we made the decision to switch to cannabis.
But given the fact that you all already have a cannabis location in Nubian Square, why do you need another one again in our community that's not so far away already, given the fact that there's already another cannabis place right across the street? I mean, why does our community have to keep being saturated with businesses of this nature that really are for capital gain by the business owners and really do nothing for the community? I didn't hear very much of what you all are planning to do for the community, other than making a contribution to, you know, a drug program. But there are other things that the community needs besides that. While given various alternatives of things that we do need, I do want to be very clear, even with those alternatives, I still am not supportive of this. I do think that that could be used for something differently, as you just described. When you first purchased the building, you were going to use it, or when your partners first purchased it, they were going to use it for housing with first floor retail. That would be a perfect use. Now that you all have changed it, it just doesn't fit with what we feel our community needs more of. So I'm hopeful that the city and the governor's office is taking note of this, that we're not supportive of this, and we are tired of things being pushed down our throat kind of as of right, which is what I heard you say very early on in this meeting, that it was an as of right, It's not an as of right. We don't want it here.
I never.
Stuffing it down our throat.
So no, I didn't say that this was an as of right project. This would require zoning relief. The only zoning relief would be conditional use, because what we're doing, the delivery model is a different concept and a different license than Pure Oasis across the street. We're not considered the same license type, so for us, there's no buffer zone issue with the other cannabis facility. As far as being saturated, we would still have Pure Oasis, which is a retail brick and mortar customer facing business. We would literally just be a building with 3 vehicles plus our 3 delivery vehicles plus our employee vehicles. Saturated, I hear that, but again, we're a different concept than Pure Oasis. And Newbury Street, which I plainly said earlier is the whitest of the white neighborhoods in the city of Boston, they have 3. 1 is ours, and then they have 1 on Boylston and 2 on Boylston plus ours. So I mean, there are 3 recreational within less than a quarter mile on Newbury Street. In Downtown Crossing, there's 4. 1 is potentially ours, and then there's 3 that are already approved. So there are other neighborhoods, wider neighborhoods, that are have more cannabis business, recreational. But again, bringing it back to Grove Hall, Pure Oasis, EnRoot are 2 different concepts as far as who we will be serving, the populations we're serving, and the type of business that we are. As I mentioned, we feel that we will alleviate some of the traffic that is perceived to be caused by Pure Oasis by having those transactions done at the door. And then the last thing I'll say, just to answer, a piece of your question, what we're bringing to the community, we are bringing the 39 jobs, but I've talked about that a lot, so I won't go back into that. We've committed $100,000. James said it during the presentation, so it might have gotten missed because that was, 2.5 hours ago. But we are committing $100,000 to the community that is not earmarked. We would love it to go towards the community center, the development of the community center. We would love it to go towards other worthy causes in the community. We've also committed to a community benefits fund. That community benefits fund will be overseen by a community benefits board. What we want to do is bring together people from the Grove Hall area who are cannabis supporters as well as cannabis opponents to work together and determine how we spend those dollars within the area. So the drug program or the recovery program that you mentioned, that was just something that came up tonight that we said we're willing to do. So like I said, we're willing to work with the community and amend our project, amend our proposal to make it more palatable and more to work better for this community. We just have to hear the ideas. We're working with you and we're engaging with you to hear the ideas and so that we can think critically together. But if we don't hear the ideas from you all, then we can only go with what we have, plus the ideas that Yvette Mohammed gave us and other things that we've heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Sister Nadira? Who else was speaking?
Samantha. Samantha.
Samantha, you'll be next, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sister Samantha, go right ahead. I can go after Sister Samantha. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So this is just a question for Brian. Do you use cannabis?
Not really. I'm not a cannabis user. Have I used it? Yeah. Do I have some in my house? Yes. Do I use it on a regular basis? No. But no, I'm not a regular consumer of cannabis.
Why not?
I like to drink. No, I mean, it's just not for me. It's just not for me all the time. I think just like with anything, you use it with moderation. So while I do consume cannabis, it's just not something that I do all the time. That's a choice that I make. Others in my family make different choices. Others of my friends make different choices. I think that we all have the ability as adults to make the choices that are right for us, the choices that are right for you. And I make the choice to consume on an irregular basis. That's just what I choose to do.
Okay, and I only asked that question because if you didn't and you were, you know, having this business established in the community, that would make it even worse. And I get where you're coming from. So that's why I was asking.
No, it's a fair question. No, I appreciate the question. And, you know, I think that my focus is individuals who are 21 plus and giving them the ability to consume a safe, state-regulated, state-monitored product, and that's sold in a responsible manner in our community and throughout the city of Boston by people of color who are from our community. That's my goal. It's not to sell to anyone else. And, you know, we're just giving people the choice.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Sister Nadira, you're next.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Please be to Allah. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone, in peace. My name is Sister Nadira, and I just had a question. As a young Black woman, a big concern is the youth. And you had mentioned that you won't be selling to youth and how the youth have been smoking and eating edibles long before the setting up of your business or any other businesses. But how are you going to ensure that the product that you're selling does not get into their hands, only suppressing the progression of young Black, brown youth? And I do understand that it's lucrative, but when does the progression of our people come before money? And even I heard, you know, there's this myth going around that it's not lethal. And even though it's not lethal all the time, it's addictive. And as Brother Mark said in the chat, it's a gateway drug. And it's being reported more and more that traces of fentanyl, which is lethal, is being found within the marijuana. So how are you and your team ensuring that it doesn't get into the hands of the youth?
Yeah, I mean, my wife and I, we live, I don't know, 6 blocks from Mass and Cass. So when we drive home and get off the highway, we see people suffering every single day. You know what I mean? So
yes, sir.
I'm gonna take a guess. They're not suffering from using cannabis. They're suffering from what you mentioned, fentanyl. They're suffering from opioids and other products like that. There are cannabis products that are laced with what you're mentioning. That is absolutely true. And that is how people get addicted through using cannabis to other drugs. That is when cannabis becomes a gateway drug, when it's laced with other unsafe products. The state wouldn't allow that. We are purchasing from manufacturers that are licensed and accredited by the state. And just like we wouldn't sell to someone who's under 21 because that's the easiest and quickest way to lose our license and lose the opportunity to make the billions of dollars that, you know, that we could make. The easiest way for the cannabis grower to lose their license or cannabis manufacturer is by lacing their product with something that's going to make their addictive and just not the pure product that we're trying to sell. So no, I can't speak with 100% certainty because nothing in life is certain, right? But what I can say is that it would make absolutely no sense for the growers that are licensed by the state of Massachusetts that we have to purchase from. It's highly unlikely that the product that they're growing would be laced with something that is, you know, lethal and addictive. But when our young people who today and yesterday and 20 and 30 and 40, 50 years ago and tomorrow and next week, when our young people do buy products off the street, that potential exists and it's a lot higher than if you're buying from a dispensary as a person's 21 plus. Person selling on the street doesn't care how old you are. As long as you can afford it, whether you're 6 or 60, they're going to sell it to you because the state's watching them, but the state's not enforcing who they're selling to like they are with a legal licensed dispensary. So we're doing this, we're having these conversations because we want to get a license. And after doing all the hard work to get a license, we don't want to lose it by doing something silly. So that's not something that we're interested in doing.
I just have one more comment.
Please.
You had mentioned that there are 2 Black Muslims a part of the business, and I just wanted to mention that that's not Black Muslim excellence, and it's not Black Christian excellence. It's destructive. Thank you.
No, that's fair. And just to clarify the statement, I said that there are 3 of the 5 owners are Black. That's myself and my wife and James, who gave the original presentation. And 2 of the owners are Muslim. That's Salman and Rokia, and they're from Bangladesh. What I said, to be clear, was that the legacy of Black Muslim excellence at this location will continue on because Black Muslim people will continue to own this business and will continue to create, to generate economic empowerment, social justice, and, a great business practices from this location. So my apologies if I was unclear.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. So just for everyone's awareness, we are 32 minutes over the meeting time. If everyone who still has a further question, we will go until 8:40, but if you have any questions after that point, I have left all of my contact information in the actual chat, and all of the questions left in chat, I will make sure will get a response and followed up upon, or if you have any questions just for myself or the applicant, please send those to me. Anyone with a question currently until this 8:40 time period, please raise your hand and I will make sure that we get to you. So the last hand raised that I see here is Cynthia Moore. Cynthia, do you want to come off mute and ask your question if you still have one?
Yes, I thought there might have been someone else where I spoke before. Thank you very much. Oh, what is his name? Mark? Is it Mark?
I'm Brian.
No, Brian. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I keep hearing you say about Newberry Street and other areas, and that's fine. And I had put this in the chat too, because I didn't expect to get back on. But those areas have not been ravaged by drugs and crime like we have in this area. So maybe it's selfish thinking on my part. I really don't care what you have on Newberry Street until they have been ravaged like we have, then that's a whole different story. We have felt this pain. We see it every day, and it's continuing. If drugs are legal or not, alcohol is legal. Look what it has done. So that doesn't matter. And when I spoke before about viable businesses, I have grandchildren. I can't bring them to your business or Pure Oasis. Viable family businesses where families can go and enjoy themselves. That, I think, is what we're talking about. You mentioned something about florist shop or whatever. Hey, I'd love to have a florist shop in Grove Hall. That's viable. But I guess right now, cannabis is the big money maker, so everybody wants to get in on that ground floor. Yes, it's been said, and I too, I want you to succeed, but not on the backs of our people. And I voiced the same thing with Pure Oasis. And again, it always feels to me like we have these meetings and it's just someone trying to make us feel good. Decisions have been made and you have your mind made up what you're going to do. And it's really like we come and you might be listening, but you're not hearing us. That's all I have to say.
Well, no, I mean, I would disagree that we're listening and not hearing you. I'm listening. I'm hearing your comments, but what I'm not hearing is constructive criticism as to where we can make amendments to the proposal that James spent 30 minutes giving. Do you know what I mean? Like I said previously, we've provided you with a complete thought of what we want to do here at 415 Blue Hill Ave. What we now want from the community is for you to tell us, well, we don't like your hours. Can you adjust your hours to this? Or we don't like that you have 3 vehicles. Can you have 2 vehicles? Those are constructive changes that we would hear and would say, yes, we can do that, or no, we can't do that, or we can meet you somewhere in the middle. I made a commitment tonight that we wouldn't open our doors until we found additional satellite parking. That's a commitment that I'm making publicly here. So no, I'm not saying that we're here to just push this down your throat and not listen. I heard the comment about our parking and that we only have 8 spots with 5 for the employees. And I said, you know what? That's fair. Let's make a commitment that we will not open our doors until we have additional parking for this location. That's it. I mean, that's not it, but that's something that we're amending because we've heard the concerns of the community. As far as safety of the neighborhood, my wife hates it when I give out our street, so I'm not going to give out our street, but I'll say that we live in Roxbury off of Blue Hill Ave. I understand safety issues. I understand shootings and things like that. I don't want that, and I don't think that citing this business here is going to attract additional bad behavior by people. In fact, I think it'll be the exact opposite because of the enhanced security that we're going to be bringing to the community. By protecting our business and sharing our live feeds of our cameras with BPD, people who are looking to do bad things are not going to do them on Devon and Blue Hill because there's going to be recognition that if you do that, EnRoot's cameras are going to see that. EnRoot's cameras, which are going to be better than a lot of the cameras out there today because they will be state of the art, are going to pick everything up, pick everyone's face up. People aren't going to want to do bad things in that area. So I actually think that the enhanced security that we'll be bringing will actually help bad behavior by people who would consider doing it today. Thank you.
Devon and Blue Hill are not the only streets affected. It's the whole area. It is a trickle-down effect. But again, you talk about constructive criticism, but evidently, if it's not agreeable to you, then it's not constructive. But
no, that's not the case at all. If I could, listen, I would want to be open as for as long as we can because that allows us to make as much revenue as we can. But like I said, we're willing to cut.
We don't want you there, period.
No, I hear you. I hear you and I respect that.
Worry about those things.
But he owns it.
Yeah. So I hear you, Cynthia, and I respect that you don't want us open, period. But for us, that's just not acceptable. For us, that's a non-starter. So I will agree. Us not opening is a non-starter. But we can be constructive about how we open and how we bring our business to the community. That's where we can find some common ground and find where we can work with you. But again, still haven't heard anything from you that's constructive to say, why don't you try this instead of that? When I hear that, that's when I can say, yes, I can do that. No, I can't, or we can meet somewhere in the middle. But you're stuck on don't open. I can't do anything with that. I apologize, but I can't.
Okay, fine. And I can't do anything with your train of thought, but that's okay.
We can still be friends.
Battle. Oh, hey, we can be friends. Hey, it's the same battle
Your friend.
all the time. It's the same battle all the time.
No, and I'll just come back to that and say it's not the same battle because I was the president of the Mount Pleasant Neighborhood Association, so it's not me who's just kind of lived here under the radar and then decided to do this. I've been here and have been very active in the community, and I've fought these battles with developers and people who have come into the community not knowing anything about the community and wanting to put what they want in the community. That's not this battle. This is someone who, I guess I just told you where I live. This is someone who lives in Roxbury, who has fought those battles and who is receptive to the concerns and receptive to what change that you want to see from our project. So while not opening is not an option, there's a lot more stuff that's on the table that you and everyone on this call could bring up, and we're happy to talk about, happy to discuss. But it's not fair for you to say that this is the same old conversation, because it's not. It's just not. But you have to be involved in the conversation in a manner that is more than just saying no. No is not an option for me and for us.
Thank you, Brian and Cynthia. So just so everyone knows, it is 8:41. I will be bringing this meeting to a close, but thank you, Brian and James and Brenna as well, for being able to share your screen and present the project to the community tonight. Thank you, all of our community participants who were able to make it and join us. And thank you to everyone who gave testimony and also posed a question. I have left all of my contact information in the chat. So if you do have further comments, further questions, anything around this proposal, please send everything you have to me. Or just give me a call and we can talk on the phone. That's perfectly fine as well.
Good job, Brian.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And if anyone ever wants to call me, get ready for my number. It's 781-901-1927. That number comes directly to me. So if you ever want to reach me, text me, have a conversation about what we're doing here tonight, or if you're interested in investing in this or Newberry Street, please give me a shout at 781-901-1927. This is truly a community-focused company and a community-based investment, and we're looking to, bring jobs and opportunity to this community. So it was a pleasure speaking with all of you tonight, and I look forward to hearing your constructive feedback and getting phone calls and text messages. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. I'm not going to close the meeting as I'm going to be taking all of the questions and everything from the chat, and these will be pushed out to anyone who would like to see those answers. And I'll make sure all the Civic Association leaders here tonight get the questions to everything in the chat as well.
Thank you, Jeysaun.
No problem, Brian. Thank you.
All right, have a good night.
You too. Oh, we still have people on the call. This is fantastic. You guys are just here to see me. So let's see. That's everything. All right, that's everything. So once again, thank you, everyone. I'm going to be ending the event now. Have a good night.
You too.